Good evening, and thank you all for joining us this evening for our citizen participation public meeting. This meeting is part of our action plan planning process. And my name is Danina Wilson, and I'm the Assistant Director with Community Development and Housing with the City of High Point. And we are going to have Mr. Michael McNair, who is our director, do a presentation here shortly. But we do want participation, we want feedback. So if you do have questions or comments, what we would like for you to do is if you need to write it down so that you don't forget, and then you can be recognized by either by using the raise your hand icon on the bottom of your screen, and or you can actually type it in the Q&A box. So you can do either one of those to ask questions or provide some feedback and comments. And we do ask that that those we're going to address those at the actual end of the presentation. Again, thank you all for joining us, and I will turn it over to Mike.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Michael McNair, Department Director. I'm going to make a presentation for you to give you an overview of who we are and what we do. It is in order to really have these meetings, is we have to kind of frame the context, because a lot of times people really don't have an idea of all the different things we have going on. So I want to take some time to do this. I have a lot of information to cover, and I'm going to move pretty quickly because I don't want to take up all the time, but at the same token, I don't want to shortchange you by not telling you things that you need to know. So as Nina was saying, if you have questions or comments, you can either do it in the chat or write them down, and we'll discuss them at the end of the discussion. Okay, why are we not moving? There we go. So what we'll talk about tonight is we'll kind of go through these areas. We'll talk about strengthening neighborhoods. We'll talk about our action plan, give you some idea on current activities, and then we'll cover our meetings and events, and then we'll go into an open discussion period. Strengthening neighborhoods is something that, people call us all the time and ask us, what do you do? We answer the phone, community development and housing. What do you do? And after, we actually had to think about that for a while, because there's so much stuff that we do, and we're trying to say, well, how do we concisely say what we do that people understand? And we concluded that what we do is strengthen neighborhoods. And we use a variety of different methods to do that. We work to provide affordable housing. We work with neighborhood groups to do economic development, service for the homeless, and code enforcement. And these things all impact the strength of neighborhoods. And I hope you'll see that as we go through this. These are some particular activities or programs that we do. You may have heard of some of them. Operation Inasmuch, or the Homebuyer Incentive Program. And we'll touch on some of these as we get further in. Excuse me. This is our 2021-22 action plan. In other words, it'll start July 1 of 2021. And it's the second year of our consolidated plan. We're required to do these plans, prepare them, and submit them to HUD. And as Nina had mentioned earlier, part of the process is to get community feedback. So we not only have these particular meetings this time of year, but we're engaging the community throughout the year. So our information we receive is not limited to the 2 or 3 meetings that we may schedule during this part of the year. We have annual funding sources. We received 2 major grants from HUD. One is the CDBG program. The other is the HOME program. CDBG stands for Community Development Block Grant. The HOME program doesn't stand for anything, it's just HOME. And then we have the Core City Redevelopment Fund, which is an allocation the council makes out of the general fund to supplement our other 2 programs. So we use those sources together to develop these action plans and programs on how to improve and strengthen the community. This slide just shows you the different funding sources. I'm not going to get into the numbers or anything other than to demonstrate to you that we have a lot of different funding sources. And a lot of those funding sources have different rules that we have to stay conversant with. And we take those funding sources, and then we will generate a series or portfolio of activities that are equally as diverse. And as you can see, it's just we have a lot of things going on. One of the things that we will ask you if you ever call us seeking assistance, first thing we'll ask you is, what's your household income? And the reason we ask you that is that HUD has these income guidelines that we have to use, and these income guidelines are for our area. It's not a national number. This is for the Greensboro High Point area. And that's how we gauge, it's part of the process of gauging whether you're eligible or not to participate in the programs. You'll see here, this slide shows you a lot of the different neighborhoods that we either are working with or have worked with in the past. You see their logos up there. And then you'll hear us over time, you'll hear us talk about community capacity building, which basically is working with those neighborhoods. And you can see kind of, again, I'll touch on those activities as I go through. And then we have core city redevelopment activities, where the big thing on that is comprehensive code enforcement, which council has made a large investment in over the last 5-6 years. One of the things that needed to share with you is that the city has received an allocation of community development CV, which is for the coronavirus. And we got an allocation last May of $552,706, and council approved the allocation to these agencies. You can see it basically fall into two groups. A lot of it is emergency shelter, rent, and utility assistance. We did have some meals program. We had homeless programs, but that was we allocated $354,363 and left $198,343 yet to be allocated at that time. This past on February the 15th, council approved us to allocate the remaining funds, because once we got up to around 60% of the funds expended or pending, we decided, okay, now it's time to release the rest of it. And council authorized us to allocate the remaining balance to those 4 agencies to provide those services. Housing Consulting Group, well, all of them are written utility assistance. Housing Consulting Group does mortgage in addition to rent and utility assistance. We still have a second allocation in the amount of $588,681 that we haven't finalized. We're exploring different projects, but we haven't finalized what we're going to recommend to council. This slide shows you the logos of various agencies that we work with to do community projects, public services. Some do affordable housing, and you probably would recognize most of those names, but just wanted to put that out there visually for you to see who some of our normal and regular partners are. One program that we do that we're very proud of, and has been doing it since 2006, is the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. You can see that since that time, we have had a total of over $9 million in federal refunds to over 7,400 people. Now, one of the things I'd like to point out just is that average AGI is adjusted gross income. And that tells us that the people that need it the most are the people that are receiving this assistance. This is free. The income tax assistance is free. The filing is free. And so it's a program we've been very active in, and has continued to grow over time. We had a bit of a dip last year with COVID, but we're looking good there. One of the things that, council again invested in reducing blight in the city became a matter of great concern. I'm glad to tell you that all of those houses that you see are gone. They've been demolished. And it's a continuing effort. Some of you probably in your own neighborhoods may even have seen some things like that. And if you do, if there's anything standing that looks any remotely like that, please let us know and we'll follow up on it. But again, this is you might say addition by subtraction, because when you take those elements out of the neighborhood, it helps to strengthen the neighborhood. This is a code enforcement report. Council, we actually make a report to council every month on what we've done in code enforcement. And we've been doing this again for 3 or 4 years. So very it's top of the agenda issue. First meeting every month, we have a strategic update, and council is very tuned into this and very committed to this. Our numbers are down a little bit really over the last few months, again, because of COVID, but you can see that for last month, we had 455 active cases. We normally average 650 to 700. One of the things we do in interacting with neighborhoods is we have a neighborhood leaders council that we work with officers from neighborhood associations to help them identify how to solve problems. We bring in city officials, sometimes at their request, sometimes at our suggestion. But when people want to know, well, what are the police doing in my neighborhood? You can see the police chief is down there, or what's all this stadium stuff is about. And we had an assistant city manager come in and talk about that. These are great because it gives people in the community an opportunity to interact with city officials, to kind of develop a relationship for both the official and the citizens. And we have these repeat visits. So we feel like that's really paying dividends because it helps the neighborhood find a voice and it helps them to, I might say, get past any shyness they might have. But they now, when they have these interactions, they know how to reach out to City Hall and how to get in touch with somebody to solve problems. One of the things that we're heavily involved in, and a lot of people aren't really aware of it, is community gardens. Community gardens not only help to supplement the availability of food, but they also help to strengthen the neighborhood connectivity. Because, gardens will bring you out of your house and you come in, you work in a garden, you start talking with people and meeting with other people that you may not talk with otherwise. Plus you have folks that may come in from outside the neighborhood who are working on the garden as well. So this is something we found to be very effective. We worked through several agencies to put those on and maintain them. And council is also committed to that. So that's something that's been very important. I mentioned earlier affordable housing. We do a lot of affordable housing that ranges from home repair, urgent home repair, to single family housing, multifamily housing. And you may have seen some of these around the city and not had any idea that we had anything to do with it. We're trying to make it happen more so than getting our name plastered across it. But you've probably seen some of these products, Kirkwood in particular, or if you've been up to the neighborhood Walmart and looked across the parking lot, that apartment complex over there is one of the products that we've been involved in. Operation Inasmuch is a program where we select neighborhoods in the core city, and we'll reach out to the homeowners and determine what their needs are. And we actually have these volunteer driven events. So we'll come in, we'll have a lead agency, which is a Community Housing Solution, to coordinate the repairs. Housing Consulting Group does community outreach. We work with them and churches and volunteers to donate the labor, and then we provide the funding. And these have been very effective, very well received. Um, we we obviously hadn't had one in almost a year, but we're looking forward to once this pandemic gets past us, that we can resume this. We normally do this twice a year. Council appropriates $200,000 a year for us to do this. So it's been very effective. Our homebuyer assistance program, again, is, especially the core city homebuyer assistance program, is designed to attract younger middle income people into the core city. In the core city, we actually have a lot of infill opportunities, a lot of housing that needs to be have people move into it, frankly. And so you can kind of see from that map, there's a lot of that gray area is the core city. And we've had a lot of activity in the western part and northern part of the core city. And we're starting to see it kind of push down into the center. And that's about what we expected. But it's again, council has been very supportive. They have actually provided almost $700,000 in resources for homebuyer incentives. This is a development we're working on up in Cedro. If you know where Pendleton comes out to Cedro, there's a 19-unit subdivision. These renderings that you see reflect the type of housing that will be built. There's two under construction. One house has been sold. The other one, I believe, an offer is pending. And we expect that to build out pretty quickly. Habitat for Humanity, another one of our partners, is actually going to be trying out a new design. They're going to be on Cable Street, the 600 block of Cable Street, which is across East Green Street. And I mentioned multifamily housing before. These are some of the developments that have been done in the last 7 or 8 years. This one, Avondale Trace, was just completed. This is up on West Wendover, and its lease up is underway on that. This is the schedule that we're operating on now. This is March 2nd, so we are doing our second citizen participation meeting. We'll have another meeting next Tuesday. And as we move forward, we'll have public review periods where we'll make the draft plan available for public review. March 25th, we'll go review with the Citizens Advisory Council. And then on April 6th, we will present to the Community Development Committee. Then on April 19th, we'll have a public hearing before council. And then on May 3rd, we'll request council approval, and then we'll submit the plan to HUD. So to wrap up, as we talked about, we covered what strengthening neighborhoods, what we did. We did the action plan overview, covered some current activities, and went through schedule of meetings and events. That is all I have. I would like to now go into a discussion period, and I think I need to unshare my screen, don't I? Is that right, Brian?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So at this point, excuse me, we'd like to hear from you. What are things that you think, what do you think of the things that we're already doing? And are there things or gaps you think we need to be working on that may be of impact in your neighborhood or in your community? Anybody have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions? We're wide open. Comments? No? Ryan, maybe we need to call some names out. Give me some names. Tell me who's logged in.
Well, Alicia is on, Alicia Doolin, Kathy Norcott, Sophia Chris, and Susan Patterson.
Sophia, talk to us. Give us some thoughts.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, well, I'm glad to be back. Um, well, my thoughts are that I think you've got some great things in place for people in the affordable housing space in terms of the Core City Initiative, the down payment assistance, and the fact that we've had an abundance of people in those classes. Between July and December, we've had like 436 people between the IDA and the homebuyer education class. So the interest rates are driving the interest. The fact that the rents are so high in this area are making it more affordable to own a home than to rent. And the fact that we've got different mechanisms, classes in place to get you there. You know, we recognize people come to their 8-hour class and sometimes they realize they're not ready. So then the individual development account program becomes an option. And sometimes when they're not quite ready for that, we've offered the 5-week series of boot camp classes that talk about credit and spending behavior and budgeting. And we kind of think that's a great trajectory. We meet you where you are. We don't tell you no. Sometimes we say not now. And if you're willing to do the work, we can get you there. So I'm pleased that there's so many offerings. And I'm also pleased that the city council buys into that activity as well as Operation In as much. So you've got everything covered in terms of wanna-be homeowner and homeowner, what can we do to help you stay in your home? So that's what I like about what you do. I like the comprehensive approach, and I like that Housing Consultants Group is a part of it.
We like that too. Thanks for being a partner. I hope you will be for a long time.
Well, thank you. We hope so too.
Kathy Norcott, you have any thoughts for us?
Okay. Well, good evening to everyone.
Yeah.
I've always liked partnering with the Community Development Block Grant Group from way back in the day. So, but I appreciate the nuances that you're bringing to the citizens of High Point and helping them to realize that that they can own a home versus having to pay rent and having to continue to live in substandard housing. I've been with my agency for 44 years, all of which I've had a presence in High Point. And it's all the housing situation has always been a bother to me for them. And having just the mere fact that I work with individuals who has a condition that sometimes leads them to disability, and they want to give up and thinking that they don't and they can't afford to have nice housing. So ever since we've been involved for a long time, but when we really got to working on the lead-free campaign, and I learned so much. I didn't realize how sick some people had been just because of the paint in the house. And just the fact that they thought they had to stay there. So I like the plan. I think the houses are cute. They're cute little houses. So, and at least they're not the tiny houses. They still got room in them. So I appreciate what you're doing. And I just recently met Sophia in the Housing Consulting Group. It's all been via Zoom. We haven't had any personal contact. But that's another resource now that we've been able to make that we can refer our clients to. And I'm always about trying to connect with resources that's going to improve the quality of life of the clients that I work for. So I appreciate what y'all doing. And I like the fact that you roll it out to the citizens. I'm not in the High Point office now like I used to, but I still encourage those who work for us and are citizens of High Point that they need to pay attention of what's going on in High Point, not just for the clients, but also for themselves. So thank you. I appreciate it.
We appreciate your support and your partnership.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody have any Anybody have any questions or comments or concerns that we need to speak to? No? Staff, you have any thoughts you want to share? That sounds like a no.
I think you did a great presentation, Mike. You were, concise and clear, I think you did great.
Well, thank you. That's not what I was trying to get, but thank you. Just wanted to make sure that if we had anybody out there that had anything they wanted to talk about, we could put it on the table. I don't believe in dragging out meetings when they have reached a natural end. And this one is beginning to feel like we have reached that point. So Ryan, I think unless somebody raises their hand at the last minute, we don't have anything in the chat box, right? Okay. Well, the good thing is it's available on video. If somebody wanted to see what we were talking about, they can pull it up and see it. And I guess it'll be on the city's website, right, Ryan?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, Ryan, I think we should go ahead and call this